Students, in lesson 7.1, we are going to be working on finding part of a group, and our essential question that is going to guide our instruction is how can you find a fractional part of a group? We're going to start with our real world unlock the problem. Maya collects stamps. She has 20 stamps in her collection. 4/5 of her stamps have been canceled. How many of the stamps in Maya's collection have been canceled? So boys and girls, I'm going to circle 20 stamps because that's what I know is in her collection. And then I'm going to circle 4/5 because that's the amount that's been canceled. I'm also going to translate that into 4/5 as we know it when we talk about a fraction. So it says find 4/5 of 20. It says first put 20 counters on your math board. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 20 counters on our math board. So as you can see, students, we've put 20 purple counters on our math board. Since you want to find 4/5 of stamps, you should arrange the 20 counters into 5 equal groups. And the reason why we are going to arrange them into 5 equal groups, because in this denominator, which is telling us how many parts in the whole that we want, it says 5. So let's check to see if we have that. 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups. Next, draw the counters in equal groups below. How many counters are in each group? So let's see. We have 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, and 4 here. So we see that we have 4 equal groups. Next, it says each group represents how many fifths of the stamps? Boys and girls, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. So boys and girls, we know that each group, each little group that we have in that peach colored, represents 1/5 of the stamps. Now it says circle 4/5 of the counters. So we're going to go back to the previous page, boys and girls, and what we're going to do is we're going to circle 4/5. So we have circling 4/5. So now we can see, boys and girls, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. We've circled 4/5 of the groups. In our groups, we have 4 groups, 4 counters in each group, and it says how many counters did we circle. Let's go back and check. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So we would write down that we have 16 counters. So it says 4/5 of 20 is 16, or 4/5 times 20 is 16. And boys and girls, when you're hearing that word of, you need to start thinking as a math detective that it means to multiply. So 16 of the stamps in her collection have been canceled. And remember, boys and girls, when they cancel stamps, it just means that they can't be used again. So we're going to go on to the next example. And in the next example, we're going to talk about Max and his stamp collection. Max's stamp collection has stamps from different countries. He has 12 stamps from Canada. Of those 12, 2/3 of them have pictures of Queen Elizabeth II. How many stamps have the Queen on them? So what it says, boys and girls, is we're going to draw an array to represent 12 stamps by drawing an X for each stamp. Since you want to find 2/3 of the stamps, your array should show 3 rows of equal size. And boys and girls, if you think about it, there's 12 stamps in this fraction. How many parts do you need for a whole? 3. So 12 divided by 3 could possibly help you out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 equal rows. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So boys and girls, we can see that there's 3 rows of equal size, because in this particular fraction we need to have 3/3 to have 1 whole. So we can check to see that there's 1, 2, 3 equal rows. So now it says circle blank of the rows to show 2/3. So what we would have to do is, if we look at the numerator, boys and girls, how many are we going to consider? 2. So what we do is we would circle 2 of the rows to show 2/3 of 12, because it's not going to be all 12 stamps. So boys and girls, let's count how many stamps we circled. 2, 4, 6, 8. So there are 8 X's that have been circled. Complete the number sentences. 2/3 of 12 is 8, or 2/3 times 12, again we hear that language, is equal to 8. So there are 8 stamps with a picture of Queen Elizabeth. And that makes sense, boys and girls, if you think about our multiplication division facts. 12 stamps divided by 3 would give you 4. So that means that in each group we would have 4 stamps. We're considering 2 of all the groups. So that would be 8 stamps in total would be representative of the 2/3 of the collection. Next, it says on your math board, use the counters to find 4/6 of 12. Explain why the answer is the same that we found for 2/3 of 12. So boys and girls, what we're going to do, again, is we're going to write on our side over here, and I'm going to mock up a little mini board. So what we're going to do is, it says we have to find the amount of 12. So what we're going to do is we are going to make this time not 3 rows, but 6 rows. And why we're using 6 rows is because the fraction's denominator 6 is there. So when we think to ourselves, if we need to make 12 into rows of 6, here you go, boys and girls, you see that we have our 12 stamps. And remember, we have to consider 6, we know that we need 6, 4, 6. Now if you look at 4, 6, boys and girls, and you look at 2/3, you know that they are equivalent fractions because they have the common factor of 3. So boys and girls, if you look, you know that they have a common factor of 2. Sorry, remember, and 2 over 2 is actually just equal to 1. So we know that because these are equivalent fractional relationships, is equal to 4, 6. I'm going to put down, and they are equivalent fractions. Comma, the same number of counters will be circled. Same number of counters will be circled. And boys and girls, you can see that when we circle the groups, you have 2, 4, 6, 8 counters circled again. Now it says, try this. Susan has 16 stamps in her collection. 3/4 of the stamps are from the United States. How many of her stamps are from the United States and how many are not? So what we're going to do is we're going to make an array of her stamps first. And we know that 4 is our denominator, and 4 is telling us how many actual rows that we need to have. So we're going to have our 16 in rows of 4. So we're going to put 4 in the first, another 4, and then our last 4. So we have the 16 stamps represented, and we see that the array has 4 rows. Now, if we think to ourselves, boys and girls, we have to figure out 3/4. So not all fourths, but 3 of the fourths. So let's count. 1 of the fourths, 2 of the fourths, 3 of the fourths. So here we see this is like 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So let's count how many that we have here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So, boys and girls, 12 of Susan's stamps are not from the United States, and 4 stamps are from the United States, and 4 stamps are not from the United States. So as long as you take your time to make your arrays, you should be okay with this when we're finding a part of a group. Make sure you take notes in your notebook so you can be ready for the lesson tomorrow.